Chapter 5. The Checkmate. The letter arrived the next afternoon, delivered by a motorcycle courier who seemed unimpressed by the sleek minimalism of Leo's office. It was encased in a thick, cream-colored envelope, embossed with the gold leaf logo of Croft Enterprises. Leo took it, feeling the weight of the expensive cardstock. It felt heavy with arrogance. Marco stood by the window, twisting his hands together, his reflection a ghostly, anxious figure against the city skyline. The chameleon sat at the conference table, perfectly still, a predator waiting for the trap to spring. Leo slid a chrome letter opener under the seal and unfolded the single sheet of paper inside. He read it aloud, his voice flat and even, letting the words hang in the sterile air. "To whom it may concern," he began. "This letter serves as a formal and binding directive from the property owner, Croft Enterprises. Pursuant to our discussion on October the 25th, the tenant, Mr. Marco Rossi, is hereby expressly forbidden from undertaking any action to alter, demolish, or remove the historical bank vault located on the premises at 142 Elm Street. Said vault is to be considered a permanent and integral fixture of the property. Croft Enterprises assumes all responsibility for the vault upon the termination of Mr. Rossi's lease. Any damage inflicted upon the vaults by the tenant or his agents will be met with severe legal and financial repercussions." Leo placed the letter on the glass table. At the bottom, Silas Croft's signature was a furious, aggressive scrawl, a testament to his monumental ego. It was a legal suicide note, and Croft had signed it with a flourish. Marco stared at the document as if it were a holy relic. He reached out a trembling finger and touched the signature, half expecting it to burn him. He actually did it, he breathed, a fragile, disbelieving hope finally breaking through his terror. He put it in writing. "Men like Croft don't see documents," Leo said, his eyes cold and satisfied. "They see trophies. To him, this isn't a legal concession, it's the pelt of an animal he's hunted and killed." The chameleon gave a curt, approving nod. "The king has willingly moved himself into check. Now we remove the other pieces from the board." The move-out was a masterpiece of quiet efficiency. Over the next 2 days, under the cloak of a city preoccupied with its own hustle, Marco's life was carefully boxed up and transported away from Croft's building. There were no large, branded moving trucks, only a series of nondescript panel vans that came and went at odd hours. The heavy kitchen equipment, the 6-burner stove, the industrial ovens, the gleaming stainless steel prep tables that represented Marco's life savings, was disassembled with practiced skill and spirited away. Tables, chairs, crates of wine from the cellar that wasn't a vault, every plate, every glass, every checkered tablecloth was packed and removed. Marco directed the process with a nervous energy that slowly transformed into a quiet, determined focus. He kept stealing glances at the colossal vault at the back of the restaurant, which loomed over the proceedings like a silent steel god. For 40 years, his family had lived with its presence. For the last month, it had been a monster in his nightmares, a 100-ton weight on his soul. Now, as his crew carefully maneuvered a refrigerator past its gleaming door, he felt the bizarre sense of pity for it. It was no longer his monster, it was about to become Croft's. While Marco's team emptied the restaurant, the chameleon played her part to perfection. She was the ghost in the machine, a whisper in Croft's ear, keeping his greedy eyes fixed firmly on the imaginary prize. Acting as an intermediary for the Swiss broker, she engaged Croft's office in a series of meticulously planned, time-wasting conversations. "Mr. Croft's assistant is asking for the bank's proposed security integration plan," she reported to Leo over the phone, her voice a mask of professional politeness. "I'm sending them a heavily redacted 80-page sample document on subterranean wiring protocols used in the Geneva branch. It will take their in-house counsel a week to even begin to understand it." Another day, another call. They're asking about the timeline for the architectural survey. "I've informed them that the lead surveyor, A. Herr Schmidt, is currently assessing a private collection in Dubai and will be in touch shortly to coordinate." I've assured them that Mr. Croft's property is Helesia's top priority. She was building a labyrinth of bureaucratic fiction, A maze of details so convincing and complex that Croft remained placid, dreaming of his 20-year windfall, completely oblivious to the fact that his current tenant was vanishing into thin air. He was so focused on the massive ship he believed was sailing into his harbor that he never noticed the dinghy slipping its ropes and sailing away. On the third day, it was done. Leo received a text from Marco. "We're clear. The keys are with the building manager. Thank you, Leo, for everything." Leo stood in his office, looking down at the city lights beginning to sparkle in the dusk. He took a slow breath. All the pieces were in place. The board was set. He sent a single word text to the chameleon. "It's time." In a quiet apartment across town, the chameleon opened a new email draft. The sender was a securely routed address masked to look like it originated from a Zurich server. The recipient was Silas Croft, with a carbon copy sent to the high-end broker who had, in good faith, presented the original offer. The subject line was polite, professional, and utterly devastating. Letter of Intent, 142 Elm Street. The body of the email was brief. "Dear Mr. Croft, we thank you for your time and consideration regarding our proposed lease of the ground floor property at 142 Elm Street. We were especially intrigued by the unique historical asset on site. Unfortunately, due to a sudden and unforeseen shift in our international expansion strategy, mandated by our board of directors in Zurich, Helvetia Private Bank and Trust must respectfully withdraw its letter of intent. A changing global market focus requires us to pivot our resources away from North American acquisitions at this time. We regret any inconvenience this may cause and wish you the best in securing a suitable tenant for your excellent property. Sincerely, Hans Gruber, Head of International Acquisitions, Irisa Private Bank and Trust." She hit send. Across the city, in his penthouse office atop Croft Tower, Silas Croft was enjoying a glass of vintage port, looking over the signed letter he had sent to Leo. He was savoring his victory, imagining the look on Rossi's face. Then a notification pinged on his computer. He saw the email from Helvetia and opened it, a smug smile on his face, expecting another logistical query. He read it once, his smile faltered. He read it again, his brow furrowing. The words didn't make sense. Shift in strategy? Withdraws its letter of intent? It'd have to be a mistake, a negotiating tactic. He grabbed his phone, his fat fingers stabbing at the number for the broker. The man answered, his voice full of confusion and apology. He had just received the same email. He had no explanation. Croft's heart began to hammer against his ribs. A cold sweat beaded on his bald scalp. He frantically dialed the Swiss number for Helvetia's acquisitions department, the burner phone number the chameleon had provided. The line was dead. A recorded message chirped back at him in 3 languages. "This number is no longer in service." The glass of port trembled in his hand. A 20-year lease, the triple market rate, the mountain of money, it all evaporated like a mirage. There was no Helvetia. There was no Herr Schmidt. There was no deal. It was all a ghost, a phantom, a beautifully constructed lie. The full weight of the situation crashed down on him. The empty restaurant space downstairs was no longer a pending gold mine. It was just an empty property with a brand new, multi-million-dollar problem sitting in the middle of it. A 100-ton problem made of solid steel, a problem he was now legally forbidden from removing, according to a binding document signed by his own hand. A document he now realized was not a trophy, but a self-inflicted wound. Silas Croft let out a strangled roar of pure, impotent fury, sweeping his desk clear in a shower of papers and shattered crystal. He was left with nothing but an empty room and the crushing $300,000 weight of his own all-consuming greed. Checkmate.